There's a question before us, the Guru Strotram. What is the relevance? Firstly, who composed it? Do you know who composed it? Shankaracharya composed it. So therefore, it is to the Guru, but what is the significance of the Guru? So we can start off with some fundamentals. What is the purpose of our life? Purpose of our life is to see God, to have union with God. That's the theistic way of putting it. Or philosophical way of putting it is to realize our own immortality, our own internal infinite nature, divine nature. And Vedanta is such a profound underlying philosophy that is put out up front. We start off with that basic thing. Now, for us to catch up with it in understanding, good teachers will take progressive steps. They'll start off from where you are, and even that is more complicated because every individual seems to be in a slightly different place, with various factors. But the point is, we're all on a journey that didn't begin with your physical birth, your biological birth. And we say that quite outright, not as a theory, but as a matter of common sense. And the common sense goes like this, that all of our habits, all of our what we might even call biological instincts come from learned experience. And the learned experience is accumulated physically in a cellular way, and it comes out as, we can take one example, even a duck that is born or that is hatched by a chicken, by a hen, will still waddle off to the water. It knows how to do that. This knowledge has come from previous experience. So if we take that seriously, and if we take a more holistic point of view of things, there is only one energy, only one matter, there's only one thing there. Modern science will back us up on this. And so the whole of the universe is in your tiny cell. We don't have to go further in exploring what is the cosmos. We just take this entity that we have called ourself, assuming it to be an individual, and the more we explore, the more the individuality goes away. The more things become general, broader, and more truthful, more expansive, until we come to a point of totality, which acts as a kind of datum. We can't go any further than that. That's a daunting task, but we've been at it for eons. And the whole universe has been at it for eons. And according to the Vedantic system that adopts the Sankhya cosmology, what we call the universe, the cosmos, the material existence, called Prakriti, the thing that is always struggling to maintain some kind of harmony, all of that is a macrocosmic drama replayed on the human scale. It also has a birth, it has a life, it has a death. It continues. And after eons and eons of human time, human calculation, it goes back into its origin progressively, back into a state of potentiality. That's what the cosmology, the Oriental cosmology, comes to that conclusion, that we all come from a potentiality. That potentiality is the divine in manifest form, and it is there with three potential forces in equilibrium, and when these three erupt and start to form oscillations, first of all, the oscillation of purity comes, and we have the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. Called Hiranyagarbha philosophically, Mythologically, we call it Brahma. Theistically, we call it God. Unmanifest, formless God. And so that cosmic mind is the form part of it, the personal God. That means that we can accept everything as true and move progressively toward that realization, starting off from where we stand and then examining and experiencing progressively. And life has a way of teaching us, steering us in a certain direction, and using the ups and downs of life as our lesson. So we need a guide. We need several things. First of all, we need somebody else's experience, a validation of the principles. And so Swami Vivekananda, for example, points out the one salient characteristic of all religions that are existent and powerful today, enduring today, are those that have a book. Because the book is a record of somebody's experience. I experienced this. Fortunately, if we're talking of Ramakrishna, we have a very accurate, almost week by week, contemporary kind of record of things which were said. And you can open the Gospel of Ramakrishna at any point in time, anywhere, and catch something profound. Now, I think in France you have maybe another version of that, but the words of Ramakrishna can be taken as contemporary words of direct experience, and such a breadth of experience. But the same thing goes for Christianity. We take the experience of Jesus. We can take his teachings. He says, I and the Father are one, and I see the Father, and the Father sees me, and I'm in direct communication, and I go up on a mountain, and I sit there, and I pray. I pray the whole night if necessary. So they not only show us the truth, but they show us the way, systematically, starting off with repentance. Take stock of where you are at the moment. Take an honest stock. Just for convenience sake, we can take the guilt aspect of it, but see where we stand and where we have to go to. And that go-to point, Jesus identifies as the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, that is within you, your own divinity. It is your inheritance. Language is the same. And when Jesus says, I and the Father are one, he's meaning it for all of us. Theology takes it as something unique to Jesus. It's a question of interpretation. So we need scripture, somebody's understanding of the truth from their direct experience. I've seen it. See the conversation that gets struck up by Naran, the young Naran, and Ramakrishna. Have you seen God? Not only have I seen him, I'm seeing him now. And you also can see him. And that you also can see him is a statement from a guru. The guru, the person that takes us, leads us, is the guiding light from darkness to light according to the people that they are speaking to, the individual they're guiding. That'll be different for everybody. So scripture is necessary and guru is necessary. Teacher is necessary. What the teacher is saying and the teacher that acts as the guiding light. And the best of teachers will be the incarnations. Those that not only experienced it, but are the best of teachers because they are the best of beings. They came in a state of perfection according to the system of avatara, incarnations, the word becoming flesh, dwelling amongst us, sharing our humanity, and teaching us our divinity. So for this reason, the guru then is God. And as I may have said so many times, that requires some explanation. And the analogy I always use is, imagine there is a big town and they need a water supply. And the most convenient way is they have a reservoir on top of a hill and gravity now takes the water down. But you can't just have a flood. You have to control it. And so there are various points, openings, taps, if you will, where the water can flow. The reservoir we can compare to the divine itself, our own divinity, really. And we call this Sat Chit Ananda. We say that it is not objective existence, it's existence itself. It is life itself. It is also consciousness itself. And it is also bliss itself. It has the characteristic of infinity, Ananda. That's your reservoir. Now, theistically, we can call it God. And I like to mix these terms up so that we get the same idea, that it's not a different God of religion, a different divine infinity of philosophy. It's all one and the same. And when that divinity arrives on a personal level as a Saraswati, or a Krishna, or a Jesus, or a Buddha, or a Shiva, or a Durga, or a Lakshmi, it is exactly the same divinity that has countless infinite forms. And we select the one which is suitable for ourselves. And that is why we call that Ishta. That is some aspect of this that we adopt, we choose it. We use our free choice to choose which one we like best. And that shouldn't shift. That would be our lifelong guide. And the Ishta, not only are we choosing it, but that is choosing us. And the choosing element is the Guru. Now you see that the water that comes through the pipeline from the very top reservoir is also Satchitananda. It's just flowing as grace. And that divine grace is flowing to the point of a particular chosen guru, a particular faucet, a tap that we open. And that connection allows that grace to flow. So that water that arrives at that tap and flows and opens, and we drink from it, is exactly the same as the water in the pipeline, is exactly the same as the water at the top of the hill in the reservoir. It is all Satchit Ananda. For this reason, we say the Guru is actually Satchit Ananda. The real Guru is only one, Satchit Ananda. Only one Guru, only one water in the example. So with that, we have to understand this Guru Strotram. That means then that the Guru is all the highest aspects. The Guru is Brahman, is Brahma, the creative aspect. It is Vishnu, the sustaining aspect, the pervading aspect. And it is also Shiva. Are there three deities in this Trinity? No. There's three facets, because we know that there is birth, we know that there is life, we know that there is death. And that happens everywhere. It happens in the cosmos. And what we are saying is these are not entities separate from us. These are not entities that are intrinsically different from us. Of course, there is a difference in their manifestation. There's a difference in the fact that there are facets. And there are facets of this sublime absolute, which is Satchit Ananda. After all, Brahma, the creator, is to do with being and becoming. It is to do with existence itself, Sat. It is also to do with movement outward. That means it is that movement outwards, that aspect of sustaining us in a loving, positive way, that all-pervading aspect of it, that manifesting aspect. That means that we also have within us the capacity to do. We have the capacity to do from a point of view of intelligence, from the point of view of conscious activity. And then we know that we also have love, we have Ananda, which only comes out when we die to ourselves. The words of St. Paul. When you die to yourself, when you crucify your own ego, then what comes out is your own divinity. The Guru, therefore, is more significant than your father, than your mother, than any of your school teachers or anything like that, because that is acting as a guiding light progressively on an individual basis for you to learn the reality of your own free state, your own divinity, your own infinity. The Guru is truly the supreme Brahman. It is not just these facets, but is also the supreme Brahman. And so naturally, salutations to the Guru. Now, when we do japa, that is a mantra given by the Guru, there is also a way of repeating it in a dedicated way, and that is to sit down and to imagine the Guru's form in front of us. Sometimes if you have a picture, that helps. And then to understand that this is not a human. This Guru is just this faucet, this Satchidananda coming out in a human form without the impediment of a chance, a deliberate, conscious, divine, creative movement toward you and you toward it. An avenue, a gateway, a light that shows you, come on, this is your divinity. So therefore, we make a mental salutation to that and then understand the pipeline analogy. Understand that this Guru is just the end, if you like, the manifesting end of the Satchidananda which was flowing already in the pipeline and from the reservoir. So therefore, we start off with this salutations. And most of Shankaracharya's work, he praises Govinda, his own Guru, and gives us this beautiful Strotram. Akanda mandalakaram vyaptam yana characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. And all along these verses, as you know, ends in tasmai shri gurave namaha. Salutations are reverent salutations to this Guru. Why? Because this Akanda mandalakaram, because that Guru has made it possible to realize him by whom the entire universe of movable and immovable objects is pervaded. The Guru is like a keyhole, and the keyhole is also like your Ishta, and your Ishta and your Guru are the same thing. And so it is through the avenue of that keyhole that we're able to see the vast vista, if you will, of realization. The entire universe of movable and immovable objects is realized. It's pervading that. Without that pervading aspect, nothing moves. Galaxies don't spin. Galaxies are not even there. We can think that the universe is full of hydrogen gas forced into galaxies and ultimately stars that shine, and ultimately the satellites that come from it called planets. We can think of it in that way, but before all that drama happened, the divine was standing there, weaving this around itself, manifesting it from itself. But we don't see that on our own level. Of course we should, and all the scriptures tell us we should see that in everything, through everything, as everything. We should see the self, the Atman, the divine. We should see the Lord in everything, everywhere, in every face. in every gesture, in every movement. And if no one else is around, then in every heartbeat, in every breath, in every sight that the eye gets matched with, or sound that the ear gets matched with. And unknown and unseen by us, an internal drama is playing in our own physiology. What we call illness is the biological urge to correct things, to make things better, to repair things. The internal repair mechanisms there, all divinely arranged. So we take all these things for granted. But when scripture points it out, when Guru points it out, and when our direct experience from inside verifies it and reveals it to us, these three components make for revelation. Divine grace. All of these are aspects of divine grace, without which this revelation doesn't happen. So, salutations, Ajnana Timirandasya, salutations to the Guru who, with the collyrium stick of knowledge, you know, that thing that you use on your eyes that awakens your eyesight, has opened the eyes of one blinded by the disease of ignorance. It is that Guru, the medium of the Guru, that opens the eyes. Now, a Guru is not a Guru if they're not following the scriptures, if they don't know the purport of the scriptures, not intellectually, but this direct experience that is indicated by the scriptures. This experience of somebody sitting down with previous, also being a previous student, sitting down and going through the realizations, and all bad and good experiences are all valuable and valid. We should pray that we make many errors and many mistakes in this life, because without that, we don't know what the contrast is. We cannot improve. So we shouldn't be shy about it. So ignorance is described here as a disease. We are all under a disease. We think disease is physical. No, disease is ignorance. And actually, more than that, it is weakness. We were talking yesterday about Swami Vivekananda because it was his birthday yesterday, his Titi Puja, and his emphasis on the value of strength. Strength in every sense. Physical strength, muscular strength, mental strength, strength of will, strength in faith, solidity. And Swami Vivekananda makes this the key value of everything. It's not peculiar to him. This is something that he himself understands and experiences, and he's echoing the strength of the scriptures. Take the Bhagavad Gita. This is the first opening teaching in the second chapter. Stand up, be strong. Katu Upanishad, Uttishtata Jagrata Pratyavaram Nibodhita. Wake up, arise, awake. Don't stop until the goal is reached. Get this from the knowledge or the wisdom of the ancients. And then salutations to that Guru, all along its salutations, who has made it possible to realize him by whom all this world, animate, inanimate, movable, immovable, is pervaded, who has made it possible to realize him who as consciousness pervades the three worlds. This Guru Strotram is not just about the Guru, it's about what the Guru can give you, can expose to you, what should be there in your practice. And what is the result of this opening that takes place that we call spiritual evolution, advancement, growth, is a realization of that one who is consciousness and pervades the three worlds, waking, dream, dreamless sleep. It goes on like that. whose form is radiant with the jewel of the Vedanta, the ultimate truth, and who is the sun that causes the blossom, the lotus causes to blossom the lotus of the Vedanta, who is the Supreme Spirit, eternal and serene, who is beyond the elements, beyond the material elements, beyond Akasha, beyond that point from which all the universe comes, what now science is calling actually singularity, beyond sound, beyond time, all represented subtle aspects of the one subtle universal movement from which everything comes, that we register as Om. And we continue, established in knowledge and power, who is adorned with the garland of knowledge, who grants both worldly prosperity and liberation. We are all looking for liberation, but nobody will say, let us not be prosperous also, because we have to live in a world. We don't have to shy away from it. There are many examples of people who feel, the problem is worldliness. We have to give up all worldly things. Nobody is saying that. You have to use worldly things. It's like saying, well, the mobile phone is disrupting my day. I should throw it away and never use it. No, it has its use. You schedule time where you make calls, receive calls. Every interaction is a meeting of some kind, which requires an agenda, by the way. What's this in connection with? Thank you for your call. And then you make a decision. Should I continue with it? Or you phone me back at a time when I will take the call. So technology is useful to us, but is also a curse if mismanaged, if mishandled. And it's the same, exactly the same with all the abundance available to us as a free gift, an expression of divine grace. So, salutations to that Guru who, by lighting the fire of self-knowledge, burns away the fuel of our karma. Our karma is not fixed. It can all be burnt up. And the Guru says, I will take it. You don't have to suffer the burns from it. I'll take it. The greatest example of this that I can think of is that wonderful Guru, the Divine Mother, that we call her Sharda Devi, who just by assuming this role, not just this role, but feeling that she is the mother, not just of individuals, but the mother of devotees, but the mother of the whole world. We're all her children. That kind of role she plays. You could have no better Guru than that then. So salutations to the Guru, the water touched by whose feet completely dries up the ocean of this samsara and makes one realize the supreme wealth. You can see how now, why we should make these salutations, as the Guru is God. And when we make it on a regular basis, when we're doing it as part of our morning program, for example, who are we addressing? We are addressing you can see at the end of it, see, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. It's registering Ramakrishna as a Guru. So we are directing at him, but directing it at all those Gurus. Of course, he's the best of Gurus. Jesus is the best of Gurus. Buddha is the best of the Gurus, because these are born without this ignorance. Then you see, there's no higher truth than this being, no higher penance than the service. We'll dwell on that. We know of the avenue of Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Yoga of meditation, Raja Yoga, and so on. But service, maybe that comes under Karma Yoga, but service to the Guru, because the Guru is God. Regarded as that for all those reasons, not as a human, but as this faucet, as this tap, where Satchitananda flows through and in and outward, manifesting in this way. And then my Lord is the Lord of the universe. My Guru is the teacher of the universe. Some leave this out. The Guru is the beginning of the universe, yet he himself is without beginning. The Guru is the highest deity. There's nothing higher than the Guru. So that when you visualize the Guru in front of you, you can visualize this Guru merging into your chosen ideal, this Ishta, and then you are ready to do your mantra, to do your japa. This is the way the japa is introduced to you. That japa that is given by a teacher. And of course, in a sense, all mantras are given by a teacher, be they Vedic mantras or Tantric mantras. They come from somebody's experience. And eventually it winds up, Brahmanandam, Param Sukhadam, salutations to that teacher, who's the embodiment of bliss, the bliss of Brahman, bestower of the supreme happiness, who is detached, knowledge personified, and beyond duality. We may think of that as a human entity, but that's not how a devotee will look at it. So service to the Guru is an interesting one. And even just by doing that alone, will you get close to this realization of your own inner divinity. The whole purpose of the Guru is to show you how your own mind is the Guru. Because it's up to you. It's not that there's an external force acting on you. There's simply a guiding light that says, here it is. Like traveling in a car. You don't get a light, supposing you're traveling from Dublin to Belfast, you don't get a light on your car that lights up the whole 150 kilometers, whatever it is, 200 kilometers. You only get sufficient for a few meters, and then a few meters more, and a few meters more. That's the process. That's all you need, step by step. Don't look for tomorrow. Find this divinity here and find it now. So that is why Guru Strotram, it's useful to repeat this, to sing it, to chant it in the morning. And that sets up your day because it covers the whole range of spiritual guidance. And that's what we require in the morning. That acts as a kind of battery for us throughout the day. So we may have to get up a little earlier to repeat this as part of our routine, but it's well worth repeating. And other prayers also, and readings also. What is spiritual practice? Spiritual practice is defined as any mechanism that takes us to a place of knowledge, takes us to a reality. See that peace prayer which is there contained in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, very famous universal prayer, often chanted. You surely know it. Asato ma sadgamaya. Lead us from the unreal, the impermanent, to the permanent, to the real. All our reactions and stress and difficulties is because we reversed that whole thing. We had this seer mixed up with the seen in the language of the yogis. In the language of the Vedantists, we have Brahman superimposed, mixed up with the world. The world is a mixture of the absolute and the relative. And we find clues in the relative, and we can use the relative world to indicate the absolute. Everywhere we'll find it. Why is it that we look at a rose flower and get a thrill, an appreciation of the aesthetics of it? And we can learn lessons also from the flower. The flower doesn't look at us, shrug its petals and say, no, you said some bad things this morning. you were rude to somebody this morning. So for that reason, I'm going to share my fragrance to everyone except you. You blocked off for today. We'll block you today. The flower doesn't say that. The flower gives off generosity. It doesn't care who smells the scent, who looks at the color, what insect lands on it to get its pollen. And internally, divine grace is allowing this flower to grow from a seed. And we admire it as a flower, forgetting that originally it was all that beauty was contained in a tiny grain, a seed. Now everything is like that, the whole universe is like that. That small seed is the creator. And what comes out is the creation. But the language is difficult because when we say creator, creation, we're setting up a duality which is not compatible with the example of a seed and a flower. The seed is manifesting. The seed is unfolding into a flower. The seed is evolving into a flower. And the flower also drops other potential seeds, and the whole thing is repeated. So what is happening on a grand scale is happening on a small scale. And noticing this is called spiritual practice. Looking for the beauty, the value of the beauty of all beauties inside everything. And identifying the thing that never changes. So these are all some thoughts on the subject matter. I hope that's clear.
Yes, thank you, Swami.
See, every prayer that we say has value if we make it profound, if we look at the inner meaning. You can take a prayer in many different ways. There are many people in religion who rote-learn prayers and rattle them off. Of course, it has no meaning. And they feel, in some cases, it's part of a bargaining process. So if you do this, I will do that. There's one particular temple. It's a mysterious temple. It is a Kailasa temple. And it is part of the Ellora Janta complex of cave temples. But it's very huge. Something like 400,000 tons, I think I'm correct in saying that, of rock had to be taken out. But where is it? Nobody knows where it is. And how did they make such a vast temple complex? Huge, enormous temple with intricate carvings and so on. And the story goes that there was the king of that day, let's say the 8th century of this current era. His wife was dying and he made a bargain with Shiva. He said, look, if you get her to recover, I'll build a magnificent temple for you. And his wife recovered and he built this temple. It took, they say, 18 years. And when we say build, it's not from the ground up. It's taking a rock and going down, carving out. We don't know how. What engineering would have made such a thing? You know, it's difficult to imagine that just with hand tools it was made, or that the rock was taken away by hand, and who knows where it was, who knows where it is. And inner chambers, complete with architecture that includes drainage systems to drain all the excess water off, intricate water systems, intricate chambers and so on. So it didn't start off with building, it started off with planning. Such a level of sophistication is still a head-scratching moment. How did such a thing occur? In the 8th century. 8th century where Vikings were raiding places in Europe, where the the level of architecture, even the architecture of the Normans, for example, with their castles and so on, It was quite straightforward building, compared to this. And we only see these big castles, later than the 8th century, I'm sure. We know that in Ireland we have these huge towers, these round towers accompany every ancient monastery, old monastery in Ireland, and all symmetrically built, perfectly round, with heavy stones, all perfectly in place, all geometrically constructed. We can't say that there was no level of sophistication in geometry, mathematics, engineering. All of that had to be there. Anyway, that takes us away from what I was saying. This bargaining process resulted in this temple. Now, I suspect that during the building of this temple, the bargaining aspect of it was taken over by devotion. You can see that in the carvings. That while this bargaining, this end of the bargain was being met, you cannot help but be inspired by the carvings. Because as you look at the carvings, wonder at the architecture, you're filled with a sense of aestheticism. The aestheticism of it, the sense of beauty, the sense of wonder is there. The builders must have had that also, a work of art. Even, let's say, in the Gothic cathedrals, let us say, for example, the rebuilding or the refurnishing of the renovation of Notre Dame. You see how much work went into it. And whether you go along with the theistic significance of it or not, everybody goes along with it for so many different reasons. But above all, the sense of aesthetics and such great, grand structures being built with only one thing in mind, and that is worship, adoration and worship. So in that same way, all the prayers that we say should be full of this adoration and worship. We should take our time over it. It should be a meditation practice. Instead of rushing off prayers, we should try and find their profound meaning. I use as an example very often the Lord's Prayer given by Jesus. And we can easily see how it is constructed, and we can modify it a little bit. See, what we call God is more intimate than our own father and mother, and we can easily modify our father, our mother, who art in heaven here. Jesus said, the King of heaven is within you. Your very name is holy. Hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come. In other words, may I realize this kingdom within me. Your will be done. May I do everything in an instrumental way. Not only in other stratas of life, not only in the afterlife, but right here now. Forever, eternally, regardless of the borderlines. So we can take this prayer and see that it is an opportunity for meditation. Every prayer, every part of scripture to do with this direct experience and direct teaching can be extracted and made a leading theme in our meditation. And so meditating on the Guru and the light and understanding the profound aspect of this thing called Guru, that becomes an avenue for our upliftment. It becomes a means for the elevation of the mind and the meaning of the Guru, that is going from an aspect of darkness to light, not only from the unreal to the real, but from darkness to light as well. Tamaso ma jyoti gamaya. Mrityo, lead us from death to immortality. This should be our theme throughout the whole of our life. We always remind ourselves that going through life, it is not about other people. in relationships. It's not about circumstances. We had a person who phoned me yesterday in tremendous agitation, saying a certain political leader has taken off. I'm devastated. And I think we can assume where it was, America. I said, but you are sitting in Ireland. Why should you get a headache over this? We get so engrossed in deviations that have nothing to do with our central purpose. And anything that takes us off course should be abandoned. And you might say, well, work takes me on course. Should I abandon work? No. Work should be your avenue and included in karma yoga. Thoughts distract me in meditation. No, shouldn't make it a distraction. We take that same thought and steer it to the ground of being, to its source, which is after all only vibration. And we are using this. We're not using it. We're not allowing it to deviate our minds. We're using it. We're turning it around. We're using it as an opportunity. Everything in life, every encounter, every experience is really a wonderful opportunity in disguise, until ultimately we realize the internal value of it. And once we do that, then every encounter becomes an uplifting encounter. There was a story of told, and I heard it again. I've heard it before, I heard it again. It was a famous musician, a famous conductor, and he comes from a Jewish background, and he had a friend who was a survivor of the Holocaust. And he was wondering, you know, you are the prime example of goodness and charity, and you went through this horrible experience of the Holocaust. What makes you so positive? And then she tells the story. We were in the train going on to Auschwitz, and my little brother, I had to look after him. And I looked down and I said, where are your shoes? And he said, oh, I left them. And I, like any elder sister would do, I gave him hell. How can you be careless with your belongings, you know, and lose your shoes and so on? That's the most terrible. Like that, carried on. These were the last words that I said to my brother. And I regret that. So I made a resolution, because he never survived. I made this resolution that when I talk to somebody, I will talk to that person as if these are the last words I'm ever going to say to that person. Very interesting and wonderful and inspiring. We leave people with shining faces and smiles on their faces. Then we know we have made a positive impact. We've gone beyond the borders of our own self-interest. And we've become a beaming light, like a kind of shining, beaming thing that prevents ships from crashing onto the seashore. A lighthouse that shows the way. We can use light in one of two different ways. We can either shine it on ourselves or be the light shining for the benefit of others. That would be a wonderful thing. And a guru is an example of the last one, a kind of lighthouse that shows people the way and steers them clear of the dangerous rocks. That is why we make these salutations. Well, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be upon all.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you,
Thank
Swami.
you, Swamiji. Thank you.